If we need to find the angle between two vectors, we can do so using this formula. This comes from the law of cosines. This basically says that A dot B divided by the magnitude of A times the magnitude of B will give us our angle. If we wanted the angle by itself, a lot of times we'll have to do the inverse of this. So just keep this formula in mind. It unfortunately is not on the formula chart. So here it says find the angle U between, or theta rather, between these two vectors. So let's just look real quick. -3, -5. I'll just do a rough graph. It would be left 3 and then down 5. So it'd be something like this. And this one would be right 2 units and down 3 units. So it'd be something like this. We're wanting to know what is theta here, given that this is U and this is V. Well, the formula on the previous page said that cosine theta is the same thing as U dot V divided by the magnitude of U times the magnitude of V. All right, so what is U dot V? Let's start there. Well, U dot V would be x1 times x2. So we'd have -3 times 2 plus y1 times y2. -5 times -3. This is -6 plus this would be +15. When you add those together, I get 9. Now we would divide that by the magnitude. Now, how do we get the magnitude? Well, the magnitude, let me draw a division here, all the way across. I'll break this here, and we'll break it over here. The magnitude is the Pythagorean theorem. So here we would have this squared plus this squared, and then the square root. So we'd have square root of -3 squared plus -5 squared times the square root of this one. So it's 2 squared plus -3 squared. That's how we find the h. So what is it? When I go to the next step here, and we get a different color, I would have the square root of, this is +9, because -3 times -3 is +9, plus 25. So it's the square root of 34 times the square root of, this is 4 plus 9, plus the square root of 13. And I multiply those out. Let me see what the calculator says. It'll be the square root of 34 times the square root of 13, which I do not think is going to be a good value. By the way, square root of 34 times 13 is the same thing as one big square root. If you're not sure, you could do it this way, or you could come back and say, well, let me check it this way. Let's see if we get the same thing. Square root of 13. You'll see it's the same answer. Now that's not really a good value, so we could put it down there as 21 point whatever, but to be exact, 0.24. That's a good way around. To be exact, we can just leave it like this. Now, if I wanted to find the angle by itself, what am I going to do? I'll do the inverse. So if cosine theta equals 9 over square root of 34 times the square root of 13, then, or also known as that 21.024, and that would mean that theta would equal cos inverse of 9 over 21.024. Let's see what we get when we type that in the calculator. Come over here, cos inverse of 9 divided by, I'll just go here and get the unrounded value. That's not what I wanted. Sorry, it's taking longer than I thought. I'm going to do Control-C to copy it. And I'll just press Control-V. Now that I have it there, press Enter. It says it's 64.65 degrees. It says round to the nearest tenth, so 64.7 is our value here. Theta equals 64.7 degrees. Now you might be thinking, that took a lot of work. Yes, it did. And you know what? We can do it quicker. For future reference, we could do the dot product was easy. If I wanted to find the h, all I have to do is type this in the calculator and convert it to polar. When I do so, it'll give me the h and the angle. That's how you can get your h's real quick, just doing it like that. So on part B, I'm going to do it the quicker way. So I will find the dot product for the top. So the top would be 1 times, that's x1 times x2, plus -4 times 6, which will give me 2 plus -24, or -22. That's that part. Now to find the dot product, I'm going to go over here and press control brackets, and my first vector was 1, -4. I'm going to convert that to polar. Then you vectors, convert to polar. When I press enter, I found out my h is 4.123. So I have 4.123 here, and that's going to multiply times the h from this one. So I go to the calculator again, and this time I'll do 2,6. I want to convert this to polar just to get my h. It's 6.324, and so I rounded to to the thousandth here, so I'll do the same thing. 3.325, 6.325. And so when you multiply those out, and that will be under 22. So let's take 4.123, and we're going to multiply that times 6.325. We're going to have 26.008. 26.008 right here. 088, I'm sorry. 088. So again, if I wanted theta, I would just do the inverse of this. Let's see what the calculator says. Goes inverse of -22 over, I'll just take this value, 26.077975. It'll be more exact. And it says it's 147.5 degrees. Let's see what they got here. 147.5. So we did it correctly. Now here's one for you to try.